great facility. I'm really honoured to be talking to you today. So my surname is Melbourne. It's not a mistake. It's always fun to see people look at my name and go, oh, that poor lady, they've got her, where she comes from instead of her surname in her name. It is the name that I was born with, and I'm very proud of that. It's really fun when I actually go to Melbourne and do conferences and presentations that, you know, I always joke about them closing the roads for me when I arrive, and I'm here now. So I am a science nerd from way back when nerds were not cool, and certainly nerd is the new black as far as I'm concerned. I grew up being fascinated by the world and fascinated by everything, systems, people in the world, and I've had the great honour and privilege of running a software technology company for 26 years. So if you do the math, that was kind of, well, 26 years ago, right? So in the early 90s, my husband and I started our business. We were both scientists. I studied psychology, computer science, and statistics. And the small group of us who were studying all those subjects called it rats, stats, and dats. And now, I believe it is one of the most relevant skill sets to have in today's world of technology and change because, as you would know, technology is all about people and the systems and the reasons why we need technology to use it. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about things that I'm passionate about, and that is team and culture, and all in the context of the journey that I've been on in starting and running this software technology company. So what is Intelledox? Well, we're a software company that started in Canberra, so my hometown that I'm very, very proud of. And we've built our business to be a global business. Being technologists, you think global first, and this little map just shows where our clients are in the world. And where did it all start? Well, this is really relevant, not just because there's a new Star Wars installment coming out on the 14th of December, but 26 years ago, sorry, I just need where's the presentation notes? The presentation view? Yeah.
You can't do presenting.
Oh, sorry about that.
Unless you're using a laptop.
Yeah, all right.
It's time for that.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to switch over?
No.
You set up your laptop?
Sorry about that. All right, so 26 years ago, I said to my mum, can we use your spare room to start our business? And it happened to be my brother's bedroom. And he was off travelling the world, so he did a science degree. He's a professor of ecology these days. He was off travelling, and he had this fabulous Star Wars wallpaper all over his bedroom wall. So Star Wars is a very exciting thing for me and for our business. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, 26 years ago, we started a software technology company. So in today's view, a startup technology company is no different to a startup technology company 26 years ago. So what did it look like? Well, we knew a little bit about a company called Microsoft. And in fact, Microsoft was not a household name in the 90s. Windows hadn't been invented, a mouse didn't exist, and you used to have to give your instructions to your computer through an operating system, essentially. And somehow, as scientists, well, we had to be able to manipulate the data and the information that was behind all of our experiments and behind all of the hypotheses that we were coming up with. And so as scientists, you need to be able to understand and manipulate data. So we got really, really good at doing that. And as the technology evolved and Microsoft became a successful technology company, we were ahead of the wave. So we understood a lot more about technology than the people who were older than us, and people that we respected and who were really wise. And suddenly, here we are as kind of 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds, and we knew a lot of stuff about technology. And so we built a business on that. We started to make money out of it. And, well, we've been making good money out of it for the last 26 years. And as entrepreneurs, we had to keep reinventing ourselves. So every single year, We had to learn what was new, we had to be ahead of the curve, and then we had to be able to make it meaningful to our market. And the market is somebody who's prepared to pay you money for your service or your knowledge or your product. And so I believe that that's the essence of entrepreneurship, is actually finding somebody who's prepared to pay you for your knowledge or your service or your product. And so as we matured and developed, we actually created a software platform. And that platform is used by large and complex organisations around the world to automate their business processes. So I can see a lot of you maybe in school, or you may be school teachers. In the last couple of years, a lot of schools have been buying our technology to help automate all of the paperwork processes that you have. So all your medical forms, all your excursion forms, all your travel request and approval, student admission forms and things like that. They're all automated, all online, all joined up, and all the data that gets collected from those forms and those processes all do the magic of the actual computation of the process in the background, without somebody having to rekey it into other systems or without somebody to actually make decisions. So it's a decision processing system. So we have over 150 clients all around the world who use this system, and they continue to invest in the product so that we can continue to reinvent that product for what the world needs for next year. And of course, there's conversations around the world about Bitcoin, new kinds of currency. There's conversations about security, risks and warnings, and we're investing all of that money into making our product even better as we go. So Star Wars, very, very relevant to us. Come in. Hi. So 26 years ago, we started with nothing. We didn't know anything about business. We didn't have any money. We had my brother's bedroom, and that was it. So we had to go find some clients. And so you have to get your brave armour on and go and try and convince somebody. And when you're trying to convince somebody, you have to have passion and confidence and knowledge. You have to really know what you're doing and really know what you're talking about. You can't fake it in the context of your knowledge, but everybody says you have to fake it till you make it. So you have to find that balance of your confidence and impress your prospective customer at the same time running fast to make sure that you're beating everybody else who's trying to impress them as well. And often now, I still have that feeling like I'm a little bit of an imposter, you know, like I'm 19 pretending to be grown up. And it's a really interesting thing when you know your subject and when you know that the person you're talking about needs to understand or needs to listen to what you're saying, you really have to bring a very large dose of courage to the table to get them to listen to you. And that's where you'll get your breakthrough, that persistent courage. And did I say we started with absolutely nothing? And for me, that's really what looking back on it, I really, really embrace that, because nothing makes you really, really honest, and it makes you really believe in what you've got. So just recently, we've closed a round of investment, some funding, that valued our company at $35 million. So we started that with absolutely nothing. There were no mobile phones back then, so you didn't do business that way. There was no internet. And did I say Windows hadn't even been invented yet? So if you think about the journey that we were on, it was pretty hard for us to put a business plan together. So we really didn't know where we were going, but we had this belief. And my mum always said to me, God bless her, she always said to me, "Oh, Shelley, it'll be all right. You can always go out and get a real job." And so seriously, you always thought, well, I probably could, but I really, really want to try rowing this boat out past this horizon and see where it takes us. I think one of the biggest things that we were able to achieve is to challenge the status quo. And it's one of my favourite little graphics. And sometimes you need to be one of those grey little fishies. Now, you might not expect me to say that to you. So there are times, absolutely, when you need to challenge the status quo. Entrenched fiefdoms and habits and the way of doing things around here are your enemy. But you can't just race into a room and say, you're all wrong and I'm right, okay? Because they might not like that. So sometimes you have to pick your battles and pick your timing, but you always know you're the orange goldfish. Sometimes you need to pretend to be the grey one, but knowing that you're always going to show your true colours when the time's right. A really, really good lesson for you. One of my other lessons that I really, really love is the struggle that matters. Kate mentioned it earlier. There's a lot of startups and a lot of companies and a lot of individuals that make a lot of noise about their success and they attract funding and they're on the front page of the paper, but they're generally a flash in the pan. So what was written about usually kind of fizzles out in a year or two and it morphs into something else, which is fine, absolutely fine. But it is actually the struggle that really matters. It's what makes you honest. It's what tests your theories and your ideas. And it's what will resonate with your market. The other lesson that I really love is you must be comfortable with uncertainty. If you're interested in doing things differently, if you're interested in breaking down old habits and fiefdoms, then being comfortable with uncertainty is something that you need to get comfortable with. I think that the lesson of you can always go and get a real job always stuck with me, and I've never had to do that. I've never done that, which is really kind of exciting. As a leader in an organisation, collecting good people is really important. If you think differently or if you think a particular way, you don't want too many people in your organisation that think the same way as you. You need to surround yourself with really good people who augment you, who lift you up, who protect you, who challenge you, and most importantly, who think in a different way to you. Doesn't mean that they're going to argue with you all the time, but it means that you all hold each other accountable. We have 70 staff around the world now, and probably a supply chain of over 3 times that around the world. So we're starting to get a large footprint. In the context of that team, you think about my background as a psychologist, we don't do normal. So you should all be familiar with the normal curve. This is a bit of fun. So when I hire people, I really like to hire people that are the outliers. So people who aren't the same as the other 6 people I've interviewed. So if you're different, I think you should play that card as your greatest asset. Embrace it, make it something that's part of your personal brand. I like to hire people that stand out to me. I like to hire people who are interesting and challenging. So don't think that you need to blend in any situation. Have a point of difference. These are my not normals. This slide here is for Kate, the blue-footed boobies from the Galapagos Islands. So these guys have evolved under restricted genetic conditions in terms of evolutionary science. And they are really special. So if these guys turned up for an interview with me, I'd be very interested in them and the way that they think and the way that they've developed. One of the other lessons that is really, really, really important to me is that smooth waters don't make good sailors. Just have a little think about that. It's really easy when it's easy. Anybody can be successful in starting a business or running a business or being good at uni or good at school when it's easy. So it's about stretching yourself. It's about going out where those waters are a bit choppy. And it's about being able to rely on your team when the chips are down. People talk about teamwork a lot. People talk about supporting each other and looking after each other and knowing your strengths. I actually think it's the exact opposite to that. I think teams work really well when you know each other's weaknesses and when you support each other to explore those weaknesses and to experiment with how you can overcome your fear in a situation where you need to apply that. So sailing out on those high, scary waters is where you'll get a chance to stretch yourself, to do things that really matter, and to stand up and be counted when it matters, to look after your team. And I believe that's what's made us stand out as an enduring company. Teamwork makes the dream work is a regular saying around our office. Look, there's no shortage of bright ideas in our team. We hire people for their ability to have unique and original ideas. And that's really actually easy. Everybody has good ideas. The trick is to be able to harness those good ideas into a commercial state. And you're going to hear from other people that are going to be talking a bit later in the day about the ideas that they've commercialised really well. So be quite selective in filtering what idea you want to run with. Be critical of yourself and compare it to other people's ideas. One of the things that we've always said is if you have a fabulously wonderful idea and you think it's original, then do weeks and weeks of research and make sure that there's not 17 other yous around the world who have the same bright idea. And if you do, you've got to think about what your point of difference is. Is it about time to market? Are you going to get there faster? Or are you going to get the funding sooner? So there's a whole range of factors that lead to a bright idea actually getting off the ground. One of the other things that I've learnt across these years is the practice of humility. There was a great study done by Jim Collins, who's one of the most famous entrepreneur scientists that I've ever followed. And he said the concept of humility is what makes some of the greatest entrepreneurs stand out. So they can be ruthless, they can be smart, they can be great technologists, they can convince people to give them money. But humility is what makes the true leaders, true entrepreneurs break through. All right, well, my time is up. I'd like to challenge you all to think about what your future holds, your future in science. It's been a fabulous, fabulous degree for me. The ability to question everything. The null hypothesis is something that, I'm not sure if you know about that, but it's something that drives me all the time. It's like, how do I know that that's the truth? And questioning that I think holds you in really good stead, that you will be different to everybody else. Standing out in a crowd is what your ambition should be. So thank you for having me. I think there's some questions or opportunity for questions.
Yes, does anyone have questions for Michelle?
Questions. Ask me some questions.
So what does your business actually do?
So we make software. So it is a software platform called Infinity. And essentially what it enables, like a school or a hospital or a bank, it enables them to automate a whole business process. So let's say it's your school, automating the process of student enrolments. So no paper at any time. And we'll only ever ask you for your details once, and all of those details about you will be held in a database at the back end. And then whenever we need you to go on an excursion or fill in your medical form, all of that information is used to pre-populate that process online. And essentially it's about the next generation of the user experience. So you'll never have to use paper again. You'll never, those of you who are parents in the room, it's like, I have to fill in this form again. It's the same and the same and the same, but one or two things might be different. So wouldn't it be nice if you just filled in the one or two things that are different this time? So we do that for very large and complex organisations like airlines, hospitals, banks, insurance companies, to help them bring their customer service into the next century. Is that a right answer? Yeah. So it's a next generation software.
Hi. So with like the rapid development of technology in like the early 90s and 2000s, did you ever feel like you couldn't keep up with the developments?
Yeah, so basically we've reinvented ourselves 26 times. So if you think about a 26-year journey, that's my career, every single year we had to reinvent ourselves. So we had to let go of what we did last year and get ready for the next version of whatever Microsoft was going to release as we were going forward. And in the last 12 months, we've focused on building a transaction pricing engine for our software. So that means our customers only pay when they use it, which is radically different in our industry. And also getting ready for the cloud. So that's new in our industry. So they're kind of two major engineering projects, if you like, that we've undertaken because that technology has changed. And this time next year, there'll be a whole bunch of things that we've never heard of before. Cryptocurrency is something that really we're ready for. So we're just waiting for our clients to ask us to be able to automate a process that has a cryptocurrency element to it. So there's an example.
Okay, we've got one last question up the back.
I just wanted to ask who your first customers were that you searched for.
Yeah, great question. So it was actually an insurance company in Hong Kong. So we did a lot of work in Asia in the early days, and we automated, it was a stockbroking workbench. So if you think about a stockbroker, so they do trading for you, they trade in shares, and that was that you fill in a form, you say what share you want to buy and what price, and then that trader takes it to the trading floor and they go and buy those shares for you. So we actually set up an automated process to do that. Yeah. And they're still our customer.
Yeah, so you've sort of been following that idea just in different forms.
Yeah, so we still do the same thing that we did 26 years ago, if that makes sense. So we still automate processes, but today we just use the best of breed technology to do that, and we've invented our own platform. And that's something that I didn't mention in my presentation, and it's really, really important, is that the IP that we've developed is the asset for our company. So we own that. It's ours. And that sets us apart from a lot of other companies who just resell other people's products or provide services. So the IP that we've invented is what is the value of our company. Something really important. All right. Thank you. I hope that was useful.